All right, welcome to Pigeons TV. Craig Ednie, congratulations on your 200th game for the Yarrawonga Footy Club.
Thanks, Rob.
And just thought we'd give Pigeon TV a bit of an insight into your career. So just wanted to say, look, you've been mentioning some pretty good names here. You know, John Brunner, Les Parrish, Peasy Stevenson, the great Dennis Phipps, of course. Who's been probably the greatest player you've seen on the JCLO?
Probably the greatest player I've seen would probably be Johnny Brunner, who I grew up and watched away play with Dad, and probably Tim Hargraves played alongside with.
Yep. Now, you mentioned as a kid, now I remember as a fellow of the same age, we used to play in the tennis courts over there. Mac would always come over the screen and say, you know, those kids on the tennis courts, please get off. I imagine there was 3 AFL players, wasn't there? Well, there was Joel Smith, Ben Dixon and yourself. Do you think he would have said that if he had known what was coming on in the greater years?
No, he probably helped us all develop our skills a little bit, so he used to come over the PA a little bit to get off the ground. But we had some epic games there, and Steve McKee used to come up from Murdoch and have a kick, so it was pretty handy.
That's it. Craig, just wanted to ask you about your favourite footy trip. You've been on a few over the years. What's your favourite spot?
They're all pretty good fun, as you know, but Sydney was a good one. Probably having Mark Monaghan on most footy trips always is interesting, and probably one little story, I won't go too far in depth, but he had a little accident in a news agency at one stage, and yeah, just to say he couldn't quite make the toilet.
Craig, who's been the biggest influence on your career?
Mum and Dad, well, more likely Dad with footy, so Dad's always been there for me, and probably the one person or constant person that's given me an honest assessment and opinion of where I'm at, and tell me to stop sooking and move on with life. But Mum's always been right by the side as well, and always encouraged me, so can't thank them enough. And as you know, with the family, big family, it's I get plenty of support, so it's pretty overwhelming. Now, with the family and the support you mentioned there, now we've played in 6 grand finals in a row. Half the crowd would be related to yourself, wouldn't they? Yeah. And of the supporters, you know, they make the biggest noise. You must drive yours on in a grand final. Yeah, look, I'm pretty lucky. Mum's one of 11 and Dad's one of 5, so Christmas is a pretty intriguing. Everyone's sort of always better than the next person, but yeah, my family's been fantastic, and I couldn't ask for a better bunch of people. And every year they come up and they support, and hopefully they can continue to do that. Craig, what do you remember about your time in Melbourne? Say the pre-season at Collingwood or the time at Richmond. What's your biggest memory? Probably at Richmond, when I was lucky enough to sort of get that sort of tap on the shoulder, and Spud said that I'd be playing this week. That was pretty memorable. And how did he do it in those days? Did he call you into his office, or just come up to you at training and said, "You're in the side, mate"? Or he just wandered up to me at training and pulled me aside and shook my hand and said, "Well done." I was trying to remember what I'd done that was well done. He said, "No, you're playing this weekend." So that was pretty much a highlight. Now, we see a bit of a larrikin side to Danny Frawley on the TV, I'm sorry. Is he a bit of a larrikin there at the time, or I suppose being a coach is probably pretty serious? Yeah, no, Spud was always one of the boys when he had to be, but he was also, when he had to be coach, he was coach, so I think he never had the full support of the board after a couple of years, which made it tough for him, but yeah, look, Spud, he doesn't mind being one of the boys. Now, you won our best and fairest in 04, is that right? You won? Probably, on the yeah. Well, CT, you're named after your grandfather, who was a premiership president in '89, of course. That must have been a great thrill for you. Yeah, look, it was something that probably I hoped that one of the family would win Pop's medal, and I was lucky enough to do it. And yeah, it was pretty emotional day, and pretty an honour, really. So, Craig, in 06, you know, you played in your first premiership along with Dave and Mater and the boys. Was that a relief, or you know, it had been building for a fair few years? But did that stand out, the first one, 06, rather than the back-to-back, or? Oh, they're all pretty special, but the first one, yeah, we'd been through some hard times. I'd been there when the footy club had a few hidings, and I think from 06 on we've been pretty blessed, and as you said, you mentioned Dave and Mark McMillan and Tyler Bonnet, who have been there with me on all of them. And we've got all the other young kids coming through, which makes a hell of a lot of a difference, and yeah, hopefully the Yarrawonga Footy Club can stay strong. Now, with 200 coming up, have you given any thought to, you know, with these young kids coming through, you know, do they give you another spur to say continue on for another 2 or 3 years, maybe get that Pascal Ellis' record perhaps? No, I think Dave Leslie can have the Pascal Ellis record. I think he's well and truly deserved, and I'd love to see Dave actually break it and be mentioned alongside Pascal, because he's pretty much a bit of an unsung hero. So I hope Dave goes on and breaks the record there, not probably for Pasco's sake, but for Yarrawonga's sake. But no, I think it's time the kids are basically telling me that I'm on the grandpa of the side now and move on. So it's only a matter of time.
So what's been your favourite? You played over 10 games in the Murray. You know, probably one of the strongest leagues going around. What's been your best and happiest memory there? So anything at training that's happened that you can tell us about maybe?
I think back in 06, this is in the league, back in 06 I think Richard Banks was coaching. That was a pretty memorable sort of a carnival where we 6 or 8 goals down at the half and come back and won the game. So I've been lucky enough to play with a fair few good players, so it's pretty enjoyable and a good experience.
Would you say to the 16, 17, 18-year-olds in Yarrawonga now, if they get the chance to play in the league?
Definitely. Why not? Play the highest level you can.
Yep. Craig, we'll finish off now. I'll give you a few names over the years. I'll start with Brendan Favola. What first comes into your head when you say Brendan Favola?
Big chin. No,
Big chin.
no, look, I probably should have mentioned Fev as he's probably the best player that will played at Yarrawonga. I think 4 years, or whether it's a couple more after this. But I think the talent that he's got is more than what should be playing Ovens and Murray. We all know where he should be. So I think he's just a superstar in his own right.
Kelly O'Donnell, he was your first coach at Bushrangers, was he?
Yeah, I think Kelly probably moulded me as a bit of a footballer, so he was probably as brutally honest as what Dad can be. So I've had some good sprays from Cal, and look, he was a ripping bloke and a ripping coach.
Do you remember much about Robbie Walker as a kid growing up?
I remember playing against him a couple of times, and I remember the stories, and I think his record speaks for himself. So I think he'll always go down as pretty much, if not the great, one of the greats of the O&M.
Neil Davis, what comes to your mind there?
Yeah, Neil's related to Dad, so he's pretty much... Neil took me on, I think, as I was about 15, played in the thirds, and I would have been probably the same height now, but just a little shorty. But he's been great, Neil, and great family ties, and a lot of my footy ability, and sort of he taught me a lot. So I've got a lot of respect for Neil, and I remember the first 89 premiership when he coached it, and that was a day that I'll never forget.
I noticed you played most of your games, you played over 100 games in number 3. Did you ever give a thought, you played 30 games in number 2, did your dad ever say to you to hang on to the jumper, carry on, or you always wanted to make your own number famous?
No, well I actually left Yarrawonga there for a bit, and Simon Rudd rocked up, and I think he used to be number 2, so he took it, and I come back about 6 games in and he wouldn't give it back, so I had to make a decision on another number, and number 3 was there. So I went from number 2 to number 3, and I'm pretty happy I've gone to number 3 and sort of made it my own number now.
Craig, last question. If 06 Premiership team played the back-to-back side, who'd win?
Oh, it's a tough question. It'd be a good debate, and it would be a good game, I reckon. So probably a draw. We'd have to go to the next week.
Well, Craig, thanks very much for joining us on Pigeon TV.
Thanks,
all the best, mate.
Thank you.